right, what I'm basically gonna do today is, try to go over the highlights, give you all the concepts and the outline that you would need probably to study tomorrow. I looked at the test. It's harder than I thought. Thought it was easier, but, it's a little harder than I thought. I would tell you to take the practice test. And, I'll be here after school and tomorrow morning, okay? I guess this is not gonna turn. This is not gonna turn. Nothing's gonna turn. Alright, so let us remember in the holy presence of God and in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear God, thank you for a good weekend. Hopefully the guys got to relax, get prepared for another week of school. Let us all focus on trying to get a little better each and every day, trying to make the world a better place. St. John the Baptist, LaSalle, live Jesus in our hearts. Okay, all right, so I'll be here after school. I'll be here tomorrow morning if you have any questions on the practice test. Question one on the practice test, the answer is E, just for the heck of it. The answer key is wrong. The second thing is, I'll be here after school. I also have period one off tomorrow, so if anyone wants to be in the ARC, I'll pop in the ARC if you have any questions, okay? Okay, so it's 90 points, 60 for the multiple choice, 30. It's unit, all right, so the test is on unit, rather chapters 1 to 3 and anything covered in class. I'd review the practice test. I'd look over my quiz. I'd review the practice FRQs, even for the multiple choice. If you go through the FRQs, I think it'll help you. Okay. Any just questions about the test itself? Everyone has a scan? Okay. All right, I'll give you a minute if you want to copy down the circular flow, and then I'll talk to you about what you need to know. All right, here's, first of all, circular flow, total revenue equals total expenditure. Total revenue equals total expenditures. For every dollar we spend, firms make $1, bring in $1. So total revenue equals total expenditure. All right. Know the 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. I'll probably go over that somewhere else. All right. The outside is the money line. The inside is goods and services and factors of production. That's pretty much all you need to know. At most, there's a question. I wouldn't knock myself out on the circular flow diagram myself. Unless I thought I had everything else mastered. Yes, sir.
Is there like a set side house that firms go on?
No, they're just always opposite. Okay. This, I don't think they'll give you blanks. I think they'll show you. You know what I mean? Like on one of the quizzes, they gave you blanks and they put A, B, C, D. Here, I think they'll show you everything there. Okay. All right, what's up next? All right, economics. All right, so forget about the social science here. It's the efficient use of limited resources to achieve maximum satisfaction. The efficient use of limited resources to achieve maximum satisfaction. That's right.
So for the circular flow diagram,
Yeah.
in the textbook, inputs and land labor and entrepreneurship are flipped.
What do you mean by that?
Like, like inputs was on the left side and land labor was on the right. Is that correct either way?
Yeah. it's either
Okay.
way. Land, labor, and capital is really an input, it's a resource.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, scarcity. Scarcity is. I think it's easy to say unlimited wants with limited resources. Unlimited wants with limited resources. Unlimited wants with limited resources. And just remember, everything is scarce. God bless you. I think on one of the, either the test or the redo, there's a question, scarcity is 100%, okay? Now, like water is scarce, it's not scarce to us. We seem to think we have unlimited water, but so limited, unlimited wants with limited resources. All right, I think the next slide is my favorite, scarcity. Just look at that face. All right, I just threw that into the heck of it. All right, so every society answers these three economic questions. What goods and services should be produced? How should these goods and services be produced? And who consumes these goods and services? Am I going in correct order?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in like the United States, a market economy, households and firms decide these three questions. So in the United States, households and firms decide these three questions. In a command economy, government decides. So in a market economy like the United States, households and firms. In a command economy like China, government. All right, trade-offs. Trade-offs are everything you give up when you make a decision. So if I'm watching the Ravens game yesterday, I gave up maybe studying, I gave up hanging out with my friends, I gave up eating, I gave up working, I gave up sleeping. All of those 5 things are trade-offs. The most desirable alternative, the thing I would have done instead of going to the Ravens or watching the Ravens game, is the opportunity cost. and with opportunity cost, know how to figure it out on the production possibilities curve. I think I'll probably go over there. All right. All the alternatives, best alternative. All right, the invisible hand. That's what you need to know about the invisible hand. Competition and self-interest act as an invisible hand that regulates the free market. So Marco invents computers. He doesn't invent it to help society. He wants to make a lot of money. I see Marco making a lot of money with computers, so I go into the computer market to try to make a better computer at a cheaper price. I take away some of Marco's market share. So what does he do in return? He then tries to make a better computer at a lower price. So we can try to get better quality with lower prices. Which, by the way, I was at Walmart the other day and I saw the price of Pop-Tarts. I might be in the Pop-Tart market. I think I could give you Pop-Tarts at half the price of Sage. Then we could use the profits to like, I don't know, do something for us as econ. All right, these two are not answers, but they're sometimes in the question, and guys get them wrong because they don't know the definition. Laissez-faire, hands off. If you're looking at the differences economically between Republicans and Democrats, Republicans feel hands off, let the market and the invisible hand take care of everything. Democrats, more hands-on. But the government has to get involved to make the markets more equitable. And then ceteris paribus, everything else. So when we say increase in technology, that happens, shifts the curve out, but everything else stays the same. And that's why sometimes a couple of you have like said, but how about if this, forget all this and that, just think technology has improved. Again, not the answer of any questions, but sometimes in the question. All right, micro, a study of households and firms. Study of individual households and firms. Oops. Macro, the aggregate, all the firms and households, like all the industries. For macro, you'll see the study of unemployment, the study of inflation. Okay. Got your positive versus normative statements. Positive statements are facts. You print more money, inflation goes up. The government prints more money, inflation goes up. It's fact, that's a fact. Oops, sorry. Normative includes value judgments or opinions. So inflation increased based on Trump's economic policy. That's the better one would probably be inflation increase based on Biden's economic policy. Because that's how Trump won the election. Okay. Now, remember, marginal is additional. I don't think there'll be a marginal, that might be. Just remember, marginal benefit has to be greater or equal to marginal cost. Okay, looking at this chart. When is the marginal benefit the greatest? At which number of output? Okay. 2. James, at the first output, what is marginal benefit? 10. 10 minus 0. Remember, you always go 10 minus 0. The second one, 25 minus 10 is 15. That's greater than 10. The third, 30 minus 25 is 5. So it's the second. Okay? We know how to figure it out. You just go, whenever it's marginal, it's the additional benefit or the additional cost or the additional revenue for an additional product. You just take 1 minus 0, 2, okay? This is an easy question if you know how to do it. Are we all good on this? All right, 4 factors of production. Land. Remember, land is all natural resources, right? Oil is land. Sun is land. These are all inputs. You know, when we're thinking of input output for comparative advantage. Capital, equipment, tools, factories, things that make things. Remember, capital stock is a shift of the production possibilities curve. It's the accumulation of tools, equipment, labor, which is exactly what you think it is. Just workers. And then entrepreneurs. Now, again, it was on the quiz. All of these are factors of production. A lot of people put money. Money buys things, but it can't make things. So land, labor, capital, entrepreneurs. I know there's one question on the factors of production. I don't know, is at the bottom of the circular flow, or did they just ask you one of these? Okay. The places kids get confused is land, all natural resources, and capital. Okay. Here we go with the production possibilities curve. All right. Everything on that line is efficient. All right. If I go from A to B, right? A to B, I'm making more computers, I'm giving up bikes. All right. Everything inside is inefficient. Could be unemployment, could be a recession. And then G is unattainable with present day resources. If I'm inside the curve, do I need a shifter to get to outside? No. I just need unemployment to go to employment. So if unemployment is fixed, I go from here to here or here to here or here to here. Is there a change in opportunity cost if I go from inefficient to efficient? No. All right, because I'm making more because I'm using my resources efficiently. I'm not giving anything up. All right. I thought there was something. Okay. Mad cow disease. Would that be a shifter? Who said yes? Patricia, go, tell me why.
Is a change in quality of your research.
Because you might have less beef, right, or less milk for pizza, okay? So the point I wanted to make about that is that they might not say change in quantity or quality, they might say mad cow disease. Would a hurricane be a shifter? I mean, if it knocked out resources, right? Yes. All right. Which point on that curve is going to give me the most economic growth? A, B, C, D, or E? C, right? Because you can make the most capital. Even though A might be higher, it's inefficient, it's not making as much, okay? And I just want to point something out here. So like say here's N. All right, now, if A becomes efficient and goes over to C, notice we're making more capital and more consumer goods. And that's why there's no opportunity cost. So, again, the way to say the best economic growth is the point on the curve that's going to give you the most capital. Because then you have the most capital stock, the most machines back, stuff like that. Any question on that? Okay, back to our regular scheduled program. Okay. Is anyone not sure how to do these? Okay, if I'm going from A to B, I'm making two computers, I'm giving up 14 to 12 2 bytes. All right, B to C, I'm making two computers, I'm giving up 3 bytes. I know this was a different way, okay? We're all good on that? All right, there'll probably be a question like that. All right, production possibilities curve. Am I still there? All right, constant. Resources are easily adaptable. Pizza and calzones. So for constant opportunity cost, resources are easily adaptable. What kind of line? Straight. Now, you do not have to be an expert on are these resources easily adaptable. They will tell you. And sometimes they'll put two items that doesn't look easily adaptable in a straight line. So you just not, so you, and ask you about it. All right. And then I'm just gonna go, okay, increasing opportunity cost is the Bode curve. So as I'm making more pizza, I continue to give up more computers. And here, resources are not easily adaptable. Did they start making me wear jackets, you know? I told the person, yeah. Right, is there for the magazine drive, or give you a little more incentive? Okay, so here, resources are not easily adaptable. Okay. And it's bowed out. Okay. All right, here are the 4 shifters. 1, change in resource quantity or quality. Okay. That could be like the immigration, that's more people. That could be like a natural disaster, like a hurricane knocking out oil refinery. Okay. Second, change in technology. change in human resource. That's education. That's job training. That's not the number of people, that's making people better. And then capital stock. These are all shifting. You do not need these to go from inefficient to efficient. Okay? If unemployment increases, we don't shift the curve. Okay, why am I emphasizing? Because that's something they like to try to trick you with. From employment to unemployment, there's a shift. No. From inefficient to efficient, from efficient to inefficient, you just move. It's not a shifter. The whole curve or part of the curve doesn't shift in. These are the only four things that will shift the curve. Anytime the curve shifts outward, what do we have? Economic growth. Anytime the curve shifts outward, we have economic growth. Okay. You know, you only need to know productive efficiency for this test. Products are being produced in the least costly way. How do I know productive that we're producing productively efficient? Anything on the line. Is anything on the line more efficient than anything else? No, everything is equally efficient. If I want economic growth, I want more capital goods, but that doesn't mean I'm more efficient, just what I desire. All right, products are being produced in the least costly way. All right, any point on the production possibilities curve. Forget this allocative efficiency, you don't need it for this test. All right, this is just what we talked about, right? If, like this country is not, Panama, not producing that much capital goods compared to here, where they are producing a lot of capital goods, you could have more economic growth. Okay, economic growth is always in the future. All right. All right, many workers unemployed, recession. Shifter of the curve, yes or no? No. How do I show it? Point in the curve, right? So there you go. That would be it. Okay. I would say last year the guys got crushed on this. Like there's gonna be 3 slides here. I'd have to say the only reason I put them in is because we did horrible. Decrease in the demand for pizza. Shifter? No, just gonna slide up the curve away from pizza. And then the third, all right, technology improves pizza ovens. Just know to just shift out there. Shifting out, economic growth. Okay. All right. All right. Just remember, countries trade so they could specialize. How do you know what to specialize in? When you have the comparative advantage, which is the lowest opportunity cost. So you trade to specialize. You specialize in what gives you the lowest opportunity cost. All right. Absolute advantage, the producer that can produce the most outputs. Outputs, how many computers, how much cloth, how much corn, how much broccoli, that's an output. Or requires the least amount of inputs. Inputs might be hours, acres. Can you have the absolute advantage in both? Yes. Does it have anything to do with trade? No. If the United States has the absolute advantage in both products, could they still have a good trading partner? Yes. Okay. Then comparative advantage is the producer with the lowest opportunity cost. That's what you're going to specialize in That's what you're gonna export. Can you have the comparative advantage in both? No. That's what drives trade. Number of hours, number of acres, number of resources, input or output problem. I couldn't hear. Input. So any one of those are examples of inputs. Okay, I'm gonna be nice. There's input questions on the test. Okay, so if you see so you gotta read half, number of hours, number of acres, number of resources, input. Input is what? Other under. Notice too. Did I change the way the graph is? Okay, so if I'm doing the United States, let's just say it's number of resources. I'm trying to do the comparative advantage for wheat. What's the other? What number is the other? 10. It's computers, other under. That's 3/5, that's 0.6. For Canada, the other is 2, under 5.2, 2.5. Okay. So I know the United States has a comparative advantage for wheat, and they have the comparative advantage for computers. I wanted to show you this because we haven't really done input problems, and sometimes they flip the chart, and I want you to be able to see it. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Output is a goods service.
Yeah, output would be, this is how many bushels of wheat, or how many tons, or how many computers, okay? Thank you for asking. I'm just gonna erase this for a second. Who has the absolute advantage in wheat, Canada or the United States? Which would you rather do, make a bushel of wheat using 6 resources or 5? 5. So it's Canada. And then they also have the computers 2 to 10. Good. All right. Let's just put one up here. The heck of it. We're gonna find- So we computers. This is an output, okay? Okay. So. I'm looking to see who has the comparative advantage for wheat. For the United States, the other is computers, 10/50. The other for Canada. All right, I know the United States has wheat. And I know Canada has computers. All right, I'm looking at the ratio here. It's gotta be, if the United States, they usually give up 5 wheat to get 1 computer. Okay, and Canada usually gives up 2 computers to get 1 wheat. So I gotta be somewhere in between there to get a good trade. Okay. Now. Say Hunter is not, still like, he thinks he knows it, but he's fuzzy about it. And he goes home and he comes in tomorrow, he just can't get it. Skip it in the multiple choice. Here's what I see happens, especially on the first couple of tests. Someone spends 7 minutes doing this. If Hunter's fuzzy on it, isn't his chances of getting it right less? Yeah, so he spent 7 minutes, he gets it wrong. And then when he gets to question 25, he hears me say 2 minutes. He goes, holy crap. And he just starts bubbling in things like crazy. And it's 3 wrong on things he absolutely knew, but he couldn't take the time to read it. So skip it and come back to it. On the FRQ, skip it. Like if it goes A, B, and C is that, and you don't feel good about it, go C below. Do D and E, and then come back and do C. Don't miss points you could get, okay? And read carefully. Look at the way the chart's set up. This chart is set up different than this. Is it an input or an output question? Okay, read carefully. Why do kids really improve in econ? They learn how to read. And I don't mean you all know how to read, but reading carefully. I will say 20% of what you guys get wrong on this first test is gonna have nothing to do with content knowledge. It's gonna have everything to do with you didn't answer the question, you didn't understand the question, or you didn't read the question carefully. And when me and Hunter go over it and he goes, oh, they meant economic growth, I didn't even see that. That happens. That's where we'll get better. I'll get better as a teacher to emphasize it. We'll get better as a student to read it. Again, I'm dyslexic, so I have to underline everything. Go.
How long after the test are the test corrections due?
No test correction. No readers.
Didn't you say we get test corrections? You give us like 0.5? Is that a different class?
That's a different class.
Okay.
But that was a good suggestion. I just will say no. Here's why I don't do test corrections. Truthfully, test corrections don't prove learning, right? I mean, you could do test corrections and not learning. I do it on the quizzes to help you get better on the quiz, but I don't have enough questions to do tests again. Okay, and I think grades are very, very inflated in Calvert Hall. I thought my grades were inflated last year. If I was being totally honest, I should grade harder this year. I probably won't, but okay. All right, you specialize with the lowest opportunity course. You export what you specialize. You taking physics? He doesn't. And by the way, it's Eaton, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no teacher I have more respect for in the building than Dr. Eaton. I think he's amazing. We just disagree. And I probably should listen to him because his IQ is probably 160 and mine's probably 90. So he is. I think he's like a great teacher. As a matter of fact, he should probably be the highest paid teacher. That's a whole different story. All right. Here we go. Right. Everyone just take a second. All right. Ryan Hoffner, who has the absolute advantage in wheat? It's an output, sorry.
Absolute advantage of wheat. It's. Well, so this is where I got confused on the other one. Like usually I'd say USA, but
You're right.
okay.
For absolute advantage in an output, it's who makes more. USA makes more.
So how come when the one on the board, like there was more for the US, but you're saying Canada has?
It was an input question.
So it's the opposite?
Yeah. Only for absolute advantage. And think of it this way, Ryan. You want to make more wheat and more sugar. But when it's an import, do you want to use more workers or less workers? Do you want to use more hours or less? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, what's the ratio for trades here? Marco, what's the ratio? What do I have to get in between for a good trade?
Takes 1 week to make 2 sugars.
Okay, so it's 1 to 2 for Brazil, right? For the United States, it's
For one, so
So in between this 1 and 2 is a good trade, right? Okay. All right, we got like 2 minutes. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask me? No one? Okay. Carson, could you give me the 4 shifters of the production possibilities curve?
Change in resource, quality or quantity,
You got one.
change technology, capital costs and change in human resource.
Okay, Hunter, if I go from efficient to inefficient, is it a shift in the curve? No. Okay, if I go from inefficient to efficient, does that increase opportunity cost?